Happy Friday afternoon, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for this week's Fermented Friday. We've had a very fun, cool afternoon here around Maryland. Sorry for the delay if you were looking forward to being able to pre-order your collaboration packs from the BAM Beer Me site. We were having a little bit of a hiccup there, but we got it all sorted out. If you're interested in supporting BAM through the collab pack, the collab project packs that we have available, please visit our Beer Me site at beerme.com/shop/BAM. That's dropping through the bottom right now. We're really excited for today's conversation. Newly opened brewery in Frederick, right there on the creek. We're going to be joined by Jim Steinhardt of Steinhardt Brewing Company. He's going to tell us all about his great lineup and a couple of wonderful beers that he's selected to share with you this afternoon. In the meantime, I do want to let you know that Maryland breweries are open for business this weekend. Please order your beer for curbside pickup, carry out, or go and visit your favorite brewery. Please obey all of the social distancing and physical distancing policies that they may have in place, and keep everybody safe while you're enjoying your Maryland beer. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Jim Steinhardt of Steinhardt Brewing Company. Jim, how are you this afternoon?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. You obviously have been in the game for a little while. I'd like to hear all about how you got into brewing and tell us all about this fabulous new space you have.
Okay. Well, a lot of people come in here and they say, we haven't heard of you, and are you new? And we're new at this location about 10 weeks, but actually I've been brewing professionally about 5 years, literally out of my garage in Braddock Heights. And we made the leap here this year and opened up this tasting room right along Carroll Creek. In terms of how I got into brewing, I was a home brewer, like I think a lot of other brewers here that started up businesses. And a lot of people would come by and say, hey, we really love your beer. Can we buy it? And I said, well, no, I can't sell it to you without a license. And then more and more, I thought, well, maybe I should go ahead and get a license because, just something I like to do. And, it kind of dovetailed into my long-term career plan to transition out of my day job, which I actually just retired from a week ago, and now make this my full-time profession. So, we opened up this tasting room August 6th, and it's been doing quite well. We're very happy, and it's a great location. Like you said, we're right on Carroll Creek, and we're literally next door to Idiom, and then across the footbridge, there's Attaboy and Smoketown. So it's a nice destination within Frederick, which is already a kind of booming beer community. So it's a great place, and we'd love to have everybody come on out. In terms of the beers that we have, I picked 4 to kind of highlight. I'll flash some of these up here. So the first one here is Orange Haze. It's a blood orange IPA, and it's very juicy. It has blood orange juice and orange peel, but it also has a lot of juicy hops in it. Galaxy, Magnum, Amarillo, and Citra. It tastes like pulpy orange juice for adults. And then moving on, I have the Belgian Double, Double X. And this is part of our lineup of Belgian beers. We make a lot of different Belgian beers. And this is in the Trappist family. So we have the Double, Triple, and Quad. I like the Double personally because it's easy drinking relatively, as opposed to the Triple and even more so the Quad. They're delicious. They're all delicious, but the Quad's 10-6, so you don't drink a lot of that, or you shouldn't at least. Whereas the Double, I can drink a 6-pack of that. Probably shouldn't, but I can. Although it'll sneak up on you at 8.3. Then moving on, we have our Imperial Stout with Tupelo honey and vanilla bean. It's very rich and smooth and creamy. And we also make a bourbon barrel aged version of that. And then finally, I selected the Framboise, which is a Flanders Red. It's a very tart beer. It's again in a family of beers. We make the base cuvee. It takes about 5 months to make that, and then we add different fruit. In the case of the Framboise, we're adding raspberry. We also have a cherry and an apricot, and then we have other seasonal varieties that we make, blackberry and peach and so on. So that's kind of a quick rundown of the beers. If you can see in the background, you get a little bit of a view of the brewery. Behind me is the bar, and then behind that is actually the top of the tasting room. So we, in this space, it was partly a challenge, but it was also partly an opportunity where it had a wood floor, which is obviously not ideal for a brewery. So we took out a good bit of the floor joist, and there was a crawl space below. And so the hot side is sitting directly on reinforced concrete. And then we also reinforced the concrete and built a cold room. And it's very strong with steel beams and columns. And then on top of that, we now have our fermenters. So we have 4 to start with, and we're going to add 4 more. And it gave us a great opportunity to make double use of that footprint. As well, where I'm sitting, below me is our glycol chiller. Normally you would have that sitting outside, and it does throw off a good bit of heat. So in the summer, we're definitely running the air conditioning more than we might otherwise. But in the winter, we'll probably have free heat. Before we got the air conditioning turned on, it was actually 120 degrees downstairs, and we knew we had to quickly get that under control. So now it's
not a very inviting place for tour guests.
No. So now it's kind of steady state, about 80 degrees down here. So like I said, we've got this ready source of heat for the winter. So we just have to let that heat wake up here. We'll be fine. And then off to my left is the hot side as well, our bright tanks, and then we have room for expansion where we can put additional fermenters and bright tanks. We actually have a 15-barrel bright that's not hooked up just yet. I don't know if I can tilt my camera and you get a little bit of a view down the length of the bar and further down the brewery. We had a system of 12 taps initially installed, and we just hooked up another 12. And just before we started this call, I had the plumbers in here. We're going to be hooking the glycol up to keep those other 12 lines chilled as well. So we'll be running, that'll put us at 24. And then we'll have additional beers that we kind of roll in and out on top of that. So that's kind of the quick rundown. That's the inside. We do have some nice seating along Carroll Creek. And we also got seating out on Wisner Street, which is parallel to the length of our building. So the city's actually been really good about trying to help businesses during these very demanding times. And they have a number of options available to allow additional outdoor seating. So in my case, I was able to take advantage of what they're calling a parklet, where they block off a number of parking spaces with like a jersey wall. And then you can set up tables out there. And my observation has been that everybody prefers to sit outside, or most people prefer to sit outside. And then we also have heaters out there, so that'll allow us to extend the season even further. But on the weekends it's all filled outside, and then we wind up filling up inside as well. So it's been pretty good. We're pretty happy with the business to date. So. Well, like I'm sure a lot of other people, none of this was happening when we started.
That's it.
We started construction right after New Year's, and about 3 months in is when this all broke loose. And we said, well, we're not stopping now, so we just kept going forward. And
we're happy to have you in the neighborhood. I live in Frederick, so it's wonderful to have another great destination to come and visit. I've not been able to get your way yet, but I'm looking forward to my first visit, and I'll be sure to let you know how my visit goes. I'm sure I'll have a lovely time.
Yeah.
I would like to hear a little bit about your inspiration to stick to kind of the more traditional styles. When I first got to know you, I know a lot of your portfolio was Belgian influenced. Seems like it still is. I know you have some German influence there from some of the traditional German techniques. Right. In the modern craft beer world, how is that inspiration working for you and kind of propelling you to continue to brew these really classical, delicious beers?
Well, part of it is I like Belgian beers. I've been to Belgium on business several times, and I enjoyed the beer when I was there. And I found that there's a lot of other people that do as well. And so that was part of our portfolio. And a lot of people that come in here, are very happy to see that we are offering, what they're calling old world style beers, the Belgians and the German style beers, because not a lot of people are doing that. I know a lot of people focus on IPAs, and even here, half the people that come in want an IPA. And I like IPAs as well, so I'm not surprised. But we wanted to offer some other options. So we do have a wide range of Belgians, and now we have 4 different German beers, and we've got more coming. Hefeweizen, Kolsch, Vienna Lager, and we have an Oktoberfest. We plan to make other German beers going forward. Hopefully soon, we're going to have about 3 or 4 more that we add into the lineup. And again, I like these beers. It may not be what a lot of other craft brewers are doing, but just here within our local space where we have 4 breweries that are very close, I think it offers a variety. Everybody has their specialty, and I would say that ours is probably more of the Belgian and the German styles of beers. And it does give people just, alternative choices to what other people are doing.
Well, I think it's very nice that you've been able to stick to kind of this foundation that you already started with, while providing almost a niche experience to the consumer. It's an opportunity to come and drink the beers that sometimes get overlooked when a brewery is racing to get the 4th or 5th New England IPA that they have to get out that week to make sure their taps are flush. And I think it's great that there's an opportunity to come try all these expressions in one great location.
Yeah. Well, and another thing we're doing is we have flights. Not everybody is doing that these days, but a lot of people, even though we've been open for 5 years, they've never heard of us or they've never had our beer. And so they come in and they order a flight, or some people will order, like one of everything. And, it gives them a chance to try things out. And then, they come back and order a pint of the thing they like the most. And what really surprises me is how many people maybe have never had Belgian beer. And, just traditionally, Americans have drank a lot of, lager. And then they got into the whole craft beer scene. And so it's a lot of IPAs. And I understand that. But, if you're adventurous and you try Belgian beers, I think oftentimes you find these are really flavorful, which is part of why I like them myself. And we got a pretty good following here. We've got an event actually every Thursday called Trappist Thursday, where we offer a flight of a 9-ounce pour of a double, a triple, and a quad for $10. And a lot of people are really enjoying that. And then other people who've never had it before, it gives them an opportunity to try it. And good many of them, I think, similar to people that have loved it for a long time, they taste it and say, oh, this is actually pretty flavorful. There's a lot of sugar in the Trappist beers, so they tend to be on the sweeter side. But, and it's not for everybody. I understand that. But there's certainly a good many people that have tried it that just wow, these are really good.
I recall that most of your business, when you were still brewing from the garage, was all done through distribution. And I'm getting the impression from seeing all the bottles that you're sharing that you're still selling into the distribution world. We have a question from Robert wondering if any of your beers are making it out near Baltimore, especially some of your Flemish style beers.
So we actually kind of shifted gears for a little while when we were getting ready to ramp up. I was just so busy with getting things up and running here that I kind of didn't focus so much on distributing, but we're going to get back into doing that. We were in a number of liquor stores in Baltimore, some right in Canton and others in Baltimore. So we're going to kind of pick that back up.
Very good. And then just a couple of nice comments coming through. Marcy said that she's waiting to plan her trip up from Montgomery County to visit you and try your Belgian beer.
Okay.
And Lucas at Homemade is a huge fan of your double, so keep that up.
Okay. Yeah, we had a couple of guys as part of that collaboration. We were next door over at Idiom, and then we kind of took a little detour over here, and we had to sample some of the wares over here.
Yeah, so that's a great point. Opening your brewery 2.5 months ago, and jumping right into a collaborative experience with other brewers. What was that like?
I think it's part of the whole nature of the business. I think that when I first got into this, I didn't know what I was going to get into. And what I have found that almost everybody in this business is just very friendly and collaborative and helpful. Um, it's almost a collegial environment, and I appreciate that because it isn't like that in every industry. But it just seems that it comes naturally here. I think maybe it's the beer that kind of helps lubricate the conversation. But I think that people want to work together, and so this seems like a natural.
Yeah, there is no doubt that brewers definitely like the opportunity to expand their horizons, and what we're hearing from a lot of the people who have participated in this project is this idea of education, whether it's they're learning something new or they're able to teach their colleagues something new. The idea that continuing the endeavor for knowledge is the biggest part of this. That's the payoff for the brewers. So I'm glad that you were able to be a part of it. If you haven't seen our promotion about our collab project, Jim joined forces with Idiom on the fruited sour collaboration, and they're going to be producing a fruited sour that has blackberries, raspberries, black currant, vanilla, cinnamon, all kinds of goodies in it. And those cans are available for pre-order right now. But it's exciting to see Jim be able to go a door over and join a collaboration.
It literally is. It's next door. I walk out my door, and it's probably about 40 feet to the door where Mike is.
That's awesome. Abby from our team and I were just having a chat in our Slack channel, and she wanted to see if you wanted to share with everyone why this part of East Frederick and this location stood out to you as a great destination, because it really is a special place.
Well, the building itself, once you come out here, you see it. It's a really cool building. It was originally a factory for ladies' stockings, and it was dormant since like 1955. And then a real estate developer took it over and refurbished it. At least the shell of the building. And it's a really beautiful space. It's got a lot of exposed brick. Our particular suite has a lot of natural lighting. There's about 15 windows that let a lot of light in. And it's also just what the city has done in terms of developing Carroll Creek. It was originally a water management facility, but they've put all this artistic effort into making it a really wonderful, it's a linear park. It runs along the length of the canal. And, there's murals, there's all these beautiful bridges crossing it. And so I think that the city has done a great job of trying to encourage business and to expand it beyond, the main artery, if you will, of Market Street and Patrick Street. And so Carroll Creek has become just a great destination in itself. And there's a lot of people that just, they ride bikes or they take a walk along here. And so now there's all these new businesses, including ours, that have opened up along the creek. And I envision it'll just continue to expand even further down the creek. So it's a great place. People like to come out and just take a walk or ride their bike and stop along the way and enjoy the different shops and restaurants and now breweries that are all right here.
It is a very wonderful destination for fans of craft beer who are visiting the area. And Frederick's nice because it kind of has these pockets of breweries laid out throughout the city that make everything, and throughout the county actually, but it makes everything very accessible. If you want to go and experience, what Frederick County has to offer in terms of farm breweries, you've got a great collection over in Mount Airy with Milk House and Red Shedman and Fry's. When you come into the city, you've got options up north, you've got straight downtown, you've got options to the east, and it's just a really great way to get out. And then if you want to get some views of the water and see what southern Frederick County is all about, you can go visit Mad Science and Smoketown and see what's trucking down there. So it's a really wonderful time out here. And I think that the beer drinkers who come to Frederick know that it's like a little oasis.
Yeah.
So you were saying earlier that the Orange Haze is doing very well for you, and it's becoming one of your most popular styles in the tasting room. Is that something that you expected, kind of looking at the trends in beer, or were you kind of thinking that people were going to be coming after something else and this would be something just to keep around?
Well, I'm not really surprised. I mean, I know that a lot of people like IPAs, and so it doesn't surprise me at all that that's our biggest seller, but I wouldn't say it's like far and away the biggest seller because, we do have a wide variety, and, there's a lot of people that they know that we make a lot of Belgian beers, and so that's what they gravitate towards. And so, the double, even the quad, what does surprise me is the quad. How many people are drinking significant amounts of the quad? Honestly, it's a pretty hefty beer at 10.6. So, but people drink a lot of different styles. I think we offer a lot of different styles. As far as the IPA, I mean, we have several other IPAs. Right now, we have another red session IPA, and then we have a more of a West Coast IPA that should be ready in about a week. Um, a lot of people like IPA. I understand that, so I wasn't surprised that the Orange Haze was a big seller. But there's a lot of other choices, and I think that's kind of one of the things that maybe distinguishes us is that we have a wide variety of beers.
Well, that spectrum is a great thing to offer. When we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. So as you're kind of settling in, what challenges have you seen scaling up to a larger system from what you were used to brewing on, and where you were developing your recipes originally? Did you see any kind of significant obstacle or anything you needed to overcome to get to where you are with your recipe layout as it is?
I don't know if it was an obstacle as much as, slight tweaking. It's not just the size of the batches, but the equipment that we're using. So, our mash tun has rakes, which I think has significantly helped our utilization, as well. With the larger pumps that we have, we're now putting hops directly in the boil, where previously we had, screens to keep them from clogging the chiller and the pumps. And that's given us higher hop utilization as well. So if anything, we're having to kind of scale back on some of our ingredients to achieve the targets that we previously had set for, bitterness or for original gravity, things of that sort. But not way off. It was, minor tweaks to our recipes to get to where we want to be.
Who would have thought that bigger, larger equipment, maybe with some more capability, would lead to maybe some lower overall cost in raw materials?
Yeah. Well, and I certainly appreciate the rakes and paddle in the mash tun, because when I was previously brewing, it was like trying to stir, a 100-gallon pot of peanut butter with some of the batches that we were making, some of the higher gravity beer. So I was always getting my workout. I still get my workout lifting kegs and such, but that was exhausting trying to stir some of those.
As long as you haven't traded in your cardio due to the new equipment, I think you'll be good.
Right.
So as we round into winter and the holiday months, what kind of things do you see on the horizon in terms of scheduled seasonal releases or something that you will kind of use as a plan to maybe get people to come on in the colder months?
Well, we've got a couple of things. So there's a pumpkin beer, which is going to be ready as well in a few more days. And then we're going to have a cranberry sour that should be ready as well in about a week or two. And then, going into the winter, we're going to have things like a spice, winter beer. And then as we get further along, we'll have other things for like St. Patrick's Day. So we're going to be rolling out seasonal varieties of beer. Some of them are just variations on a lot of the things that we have today, and some are just altogether different.
With a lot of your recipes, are you able to utilize ingredients that come from Maryland or other regional locations?
There's some. I'd say a lot of the fruit that we get is literally from across the creek where McCutcheon's is located, and we get honey from them as well. I've used some local hops. But actually we also use ingredients from around the world. A lot of the hops come from as far away as Australia and New Zealand, but a lot more traditional noble hops from Europe. And of course, I'm sure many people get their hops from out in Washington State or Oregon. But we do, where we can, try to use local ingredients. So I'd say the fruit and the honey are probably the two that come to mind.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm sorry, I had a question and it just literally jumped out of my head. I'm seeing all the people walk around in the back. It's nice to see everybody coming through. Um, I guess my question was going to be about your barrel aging. Obviously, for some of these styles, they are intensive styles for souring or aging in barrels. Do you have a space in your brewery where you're showcasing barrels? Is everything stored where the public can see it? And where are you sourcing those barrels?
Well, so we actually have brought a number of the barrels over from my previous location, and some of them are on display, if you will. So maybe I'll turn again the camera, and I don't know if you can see there. There's a glass wall. There's a couple of walking right in front of it now, and that allows our patrons to look down into part of the production area where we have a number of barrels on display. And then actually under where they're standing, there's additional storage space. So we'll have additional barrels there. And we have basically two types of barrels. I'm going to flip back here. We got two types of barrels. We use red wine barrels for all of the Flanders Red. And, we age the Saison. Initially, it's a Saison. And then we age that with all the bacteria that causes our sours to be very tart and funky. So there's Brettanomyces, Lactobacillus, Pediococcus, and we let that sit for 3 to 4 months, and then we add fruit. And so that's part of the barrel storage program is for the sours, and then we also have our bourbon barrel aged stout, which we keep those obviously separate. But yeah, we're moving more and more of the barrels over here, and eventually we'll have everything over here.
When you were designing the brewery layout, what was the biggest motivator for you? Was the idea to have them maximize your tasting room space and your guest experience? Was the idea to maximize the efficiencies in the way that you were going to be brewing here? Or was it to give you space to ensure that you had a segregated spot for maybe some of your buggier barrels and some of your cleaner barrels? How are you balancing all of those challenges?
Well, it was all the above. So we, I said earlier that, the original condition of this space was a wooden floor, which really is not conducive for at least the production side of the brewery. But then we got the idea that if we took the floor joist out, and in some cases we would make double use of the space, that we could be having the production for the most part sitting on concrete where it needs to be, and still have the patron area where I'm sitting right now, a very nice environment. And so we're able to basically double up on the footprint, and as well by having some additional space, and down below we actually have a wall that separates things. And we're able to keep the sours separate from everything else, which is definitely a very big consideration. Everything that we use to make sour beer is physically, literally separate and distinct. There's not a single piece of equipment that is used in the making of the sour that is reused in making of any of the other non bacteria infected beer. So yeah, there's additional cost and there's additional space requirements, but we were able to accommodate all that here.
And if you intend to operate a sour program or do something like that, you have to be willing to do it the right way. And it sounds like you took that into consideration when you were building out. That's wonderful to hear. Are you seeing a big drive in demand for sours there? Are you hearing people ask for more of these Belgian-inspired sours when they come in? It seems a lot of the consumer is used to the kettle sour option and maybe some of the fruitier, balanced sweet and sour beers that are out there. When you're talking about these drier Belgian sour styles, are people asking for more?
Well, I think it's a niche market. I would say about 10% of the people that order beer are ordering these types of sours. They're very intense, and they are funky with the Brettanomyces. And we literally caution everybody when they come and they order it. It's like, okay, do you like sour beer? Because, oftentimes they'll order a framboise and then they have this pucker face because they didn't realize just how tart this was. Um, we'll offer them a sample so that they don't order a pint of something that they're not going to be happy with. But often, what I find with sours is that you take the first sip and it's almost a shock, and then you have to take it a second or a third sip of the beer, and then you really start to really enjoy the flavor and the complexity of it. So again, it's not for everybody. I wouldn't try to tell everybody what they should drink, but the people that like it just absolutely love it. We've had a number of people come in here and they say, please continue to make this style of authentic Belgian, Flanders red, because they really enjoy it.
For most of your sour program, are you doing controlled fermentation ahead of time and then putting basically a young beer into your barrels to age, or are you allowing spontaneous fermentation at all?
No, we start out with traditional Saccharomyces yeast, the traditional 2-week fermentation, and you achieve a typical final gravity. And then when you put it in the barrel, and the barrels are all inoculated with the Brettanomyces and the Lactobacillus and Pediococcus, they just continue to work on it, and they'll slowly eat away everything. And another thing that I found is, it's so efficient at eating everything that it's kind of pointless to try and put something like dextrin in the beer to cause head retention, because Brettanomyces is just going to eat it up. So, people will say, oh, the beer is flat. No, it's not flat. It just doesn't have a head on it, because the Brettanomyces just eats everything.
Yeah, when you have
it's like a cleaner. It cleans up any residual sugar or anything else that's in the beer after the traditional 2-week fermentation.
Yeah, the sugar and protein are big drivers for those nasty bacteria that like to make beer taste really, really unique and delicious. So the head retention issue is one that I've often heard being a concern for people who are producing sours. And you know what? If you enjoy a sour beer and it's not filled with all this, craggy head, then you're still enjoying a great sour beer, and the bacteria did its work.
Yeah.
So of your lineup, you said that you have some sours that you're adding fruit in the barrel as well. Which lineup of your beers does that include? The Framboise has that, or was that?
The Framboise has the raspberry, and they all start as the same base recipe, which is our cuvee, and that also has sort of a stone fruit flavor from the oak barrels. But then, we add different fruits. So the Framboise has the raspberry, Kriek has tart cherries, we have apricot. We've made blackberry, and we'll bring that back in the spring and the summer. We're going to make peach. I have a cranberry that should be ready here again in about a week or so. So it's just a matter of adding different fruit to that base and giving it another month or so to work on that.
Very cool. I think that a lot of people may not understand that process of the souring takes a lot of time, and the ability to kind of get the flavors across with additions requires a little bit of extra time as well.
It does. It takes a lot of time, and it's a very involved process. We wind up moving the beer multiple times to achieve our desired goal.
So in your product lineup that you showed us earlier, it looked like you had some 12-ounce long necks and you had a 22-ounce format. Are those the two formats that you have available? Do you have anything in cans, or are those on the horizon?
We're looking at cans. Some of the beers, a lot of the beers that we make present challenges to putting in a can, because they're, first of all, high gravity, and a lot of them have late additions of sugar or honey or fruit or other things, which unless you have absolutely no secondary fermentation, you're at risk of having cans explode. So, and you can go and do pasteurization or other techniques, filtration, and we've played with that. But until we get that really tweaked, I'm a little reluctant to put some of our beers into cans. So for now, yeah, we're putting things in bottles. It may be a blessing in disguise, because I know there's a little bit of a can shortage these days. But long term, we would like to put some of our beer into cans.
I think that you hit the nail on the head there for a couple of reasons. Number one, that concept of lack of ability to pasteurize efficiently and cost effectively is a big one. We've heard that from other guests. I know Ty from Hysteria said that it's one of the things that they wish they had access to, and they've experienced certain can failure based on secondary fermentation and whatever. But I think the idea also that if your alternative is to filter, you might be stripping out a lot of flavors that your consumer is expecting to have when they taste that beer, and you don't want to let them down on the overall quality expectation. So
Right.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of played with it, but in order to remove all bacteria, you're down at like 0.4 microns, and that's probably going to strip away some of the flavor too.
No, certainly, and aromas are gone, and you're shooting yourself in the foot sometimes if you have to brew for the end goal being putting it into a package that requires all of that. You're rethinking your entire beer.
Yeah.
So what do you see on the horizon? Do you see some fun things happening there in the coming months? Do you see folks coming and joining you? Do you have food trucks coming in? What do people expect when they come out?
Yeah, so we've started bringing food trucks in. We've actually got somebody coming in today, Blues Pizza, and we've got a number of other folks lined up. We're just starting to fill the slate there. I've actually rented space right across Wisner Street for food trucks to park. And also, I'm not sure how much people realize that in the same building that we're in, there's plans for a restaurant and hard cidery to open up. So hopefully that will be ready in about 6 months. So then we'll have additional food options right down the creek from us, about 100, not even 100 yards down the creek from us. So yeah, there's a lot in the works. The food trucks, we're looking at entertainment. We've been open for 10 weeks, and I find that every day there's another thing that I'm dealing with, but we keep crossing those hurdles one at a time.
Well, I'm hoping in a few months you and I can do another one of these, and we can catch up a little bit more, and you can tell us what you've learned in the months after this chat.
Okay. Happy to do it.
For the folks that are watching right now who would like to come out, would you like to let people know where they can find out information about Steinhardt Brewing Company and let them know about your hours?
Okay. So we have our website is steinhardtbrewing.com, and we've got Facebook and Instagram, and currently our hours were open Wednesday and Thursday from 4 p.m. till 10 p.m. and then Friday, Saturday from noon till 11 p.m. and then Sunday from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. And love to see y'all come out here.
And the one last thing I like to ask is what package formats are your beers available in? Can guests come in and do crowlers and growler fills, or are you just selling things that are prepackaged if they want to take anything for carryout?
Okay, so we have about 8 or 9 different beers that are in 6-packs, 12-ounce 6-packs of bottles. You pointed out we have all this barrel-aged stuff is in larger format, either 22 or 16.9-ounce bottles. We also do growler fills. We have 32 and 64-ounce growlers, or you can bring your own growler. And any of the beers that are on tap, we can fill up growlers to go. So that's your to-go options today.
And obviously, full-size pours are available, and you said that you still have some flights going on, so that's great also.
Yep.
All right. Well, if any of you are looking for a wonderful place to go visit and try some Maryland-made Belgian-influenced and German-influenced beers, go visit Jim and his team out at Steinhardt Brewing Company in Frederick. They're right there on Trail Creek. You can make a day of it, and you can try some wonderfully, wonderfully unique beers. And when you do, please come back to the BAM pages and let us know what you think of them. We're happy to have you guys on board and great to see your new location. So thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
Anybody that's viewing that wants more information about BAM, visit us at marylandbeer.org. And keep in mind, we do have the Collab Project collaboration packs available for sale now at beerme.com/store/BAM. Please show your support for these great breweries, just like Jim's that came out to support BAM, and show your support for the beer industry here in Maryland. Have a safe weekend, everybody, and enjoy yourselves. Cheers.
Thank you.